Hi, recap reporters here. Today I'm going to explain a spy drama thriller movie called Red Sparrow. Spoilers ahead, you have been warned. Now like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you enjoy this video, in today's video, we'll look at the American spy thriller Red Sparrow, in which ballerina Dominika Yegorova is enrolled in Sparrow School, a Russian intelligence outfit where she is compelled to use her body as a weapon. Her first operation, which targets a CIA operative, threatens both countries' security. The film's two main protagonists, Dominika Yegorova and Nate Nash, are introduced in the opening moments. The location is modern-day Russia. Dominika is listening to music, while Nate is listening to a coded tape. Dominika enters the theater and begins applying cosmetics as Nate decrypts the code and pulls a firearm from behind his desk. When Dominika begins to perform, we see Nate Nash, a CIA agent, approach the park to visit his Russian mole, codenamed Marble. The classical music that plays over the scenes becomes more intense, as does the scenario for our two characters. Nate is accosted by cops, who fire a pistol to distract him from his mole. He is pursued across town until he reaches the American embassy. Dominika is hoisted and twirled in the air by her leading man, but when he moves to set her down, he drops her and she crashes. Nate surrenders to the ground at the same time Dominika falls and fractures her ankle. Dominika's uncle, Ivan, the SVR's deputy director, pays her a visit and offers her a position working for him. He also shows her photos of her lead guy kissing the girl who took Dominika's place in the ballet. Dominika realizes she was dropped on purpose and confronts the pair. When she gets inside the auditorium, she discovers the two ballet leads having sex in the restroom. She aggressively hits them both with her walking stick before fleeing. As Dominika arrives home, her mother is on the floor, unable to get up, and it becomes evident to her that she will need to take her uncle's work if she is to provide adequate care for her mother. When her uncle's voice communicates instructions, we observe Dominika getting ready. She is charged with seducing Dmitry Ustinov for information, but when they get at his room, he starts raping her. When this is occurring, another SVR agent comes in and strangles Dmitry with a piece of wire. Dmitry's blood dries on Dominika, who is kidnapped by an SVR agent. Dominika is offered two options: train as an agent or be murdered for witnessing Dmitry's murder. Dominika is taken to a public school to learn how to be a Red Sparrow. Now she meets the matron, who threatens her with a gunshot to the head if she cannot be of use to her state. The matron invites Dominika and a boy called Victor to the front of the class and instructs them to strip. Victor agrees, but Dominika does not. Meanwhile, Nate has returned to Washington for his debrief, where he has been suspended from all international postings. Nate claims that he has been working with Marble for 3 years and that Marble will not cooperate with anybody else. Dominika's training continues with exercises such as shooting, lock picking, and training how to use and detect various narcotics. Dominika is exceptional. Nate is now at a meeting with the CIA. He claims to have a tail, which leads him to assume Marble is still alive. Because the CIA has been unable to contact Marble, they offer Nate one more assignment to meet Marble in Budapest and convince him to communicate through one of the other operatives. Matron explains the significance of a Red Sparrow to the students at State School. Every individual is a jigsaw with a missing component. A Red Sparrow must identify the other person's true need and fill that void. The kids are allocated returning servicemen and instructed to look after their needs. Dominika chooses a peaceful boy to accompany her to her room. Later, when she is bathing, a fellow Sparrow enters and attempts to rape her. She yanks the shower handle off and hits him with it. Dominika's uncle, Ivan, is meeting with senior SVR officials, including General Korchnoi, to examine Nate. They are sure that Nate will be attempting to contact their mole, and they are eager to send in another operative to ascertain the mole's identity. Despite causing friction with the matron owing to her repeated reluctance to heed commands, Dominika is offered the assignment in Budapest. She has to become close to Nate, build trust, and uncover the mole. Dominika shares an apartment with another agent named Marta. She makes touch with Nate quickly, but he quickly realizes she is a Russian operative. Dominika inspects Marta's chamber and learns that she has been assigned to purchase confidential intelligence from Stephanie Boucher, a senior US staff member. Nate had asked Dominika to dinner, but she does not appear, instead waiting for him to go. She then chases him back to his flat and convinces him to discuss what happened in the park that we saw at the start of the film. Ivan approaches Dominika. She informs him that she is gaining Nate's trust and has obtained details concerning the night in the park. As Ivan presses her, wondering why she isn't working faster, Dominika responds that she is assisting Marta with her homework. As Dominika returns to her flat, Marta has been brutally killed for divulging the secrets of her mission, and she is threatened with the same fate if she fails to give results. Dominika rushes to Nate and confides in him. He offers her a job with the CIA and assures her that he would never abuse her as her uncle does. Dominika passes a lie detector test and accepts the CIA's first task, which is to meet with Miss Boucher and exchange intelligence for false disks to send to the Russians. She completes the mission, but as she exits the hotel, she is apprehended and carried home by the Russians. She is being tormented here. We witness her being asked repeatedly if she delivered Miss Boucher to the Americans. After she says no for the first time, she is stripped nude and placed in a bedroom with her wrists bound to the ceiling. Water streams down on her, as powerful heavy metal music blasts forth. Dominika is hit with a hammer over her legs, arms, and finally her skull. The second time she replies no. When Dominika finally admits that she did not surrender Miss Boucher to the Americans, she is threatened with a weapon, but when the trigger is pulled, it is evident that it was not loaded. Ivan walks into the room to speak with Dominika. He informs her that he can only offer her so much protection. She answers by informing her uncle that this was all part of her strategy to convince the Americans of her trustworthiness, that she needed to give Nate a reason to believe her, and that now that she has been tortured, Nate will have complete faith in her. Dominika requests permission from her uncle to return and demonstrate her ability to complete the task effectively. At this moment, we're left wondering whose side she's truly on. When Dominika returns to Budapest, she is reunited with Nate, they passionately hug, and their affection for one another appears genuine. But Dominika awakens in the middle of the night to discover that Nate is no longer sleeping next to her. She comes into the kitchen and discovers Nate chained to a chair, being slowly tortured by an SVR agent. We see the horror on Dominika's face at first, but she understands what she has to do, and the distant expression returns to her eyes. She offers to help Nate extract information by peeling pieces of his skin. Nate screams in pain, but Dominika continues. When Dominika and the SVR agent's trust grows, he lets down his guard just long enough for Dominika to assault him and liberate Nate. They collaborate to bring down the Russians, but not without suffering wounds and bruises themselves. When Dominika heals in the hospital, it appears like her life is coming to an end. She has exposed her secret to the Russians by saving Nate's life, and she is out of options. General Korchnoi arrives to speak with her, a guy we have seen throughout the film to be staunch and threatening. Just when it appears that all hope has been gone, Korchnoi makes the astonishing admission that he is the mole. Korchnoi is pleased by Dominika's hard work and commitment and wants her to abandon him in order to acquire the Russians' entire trust. She can then assume his function by providing Russian intelligence to the United States. Korchnoi accepts his fate and waits for the Russians to arrive and execute him. A group of Russians and Americans meet at the airport to transfer moles. Nate grabs Dominika's arm and inquires as to how she was able to give up the mole so readily. He is dissatisfied with her decision. Marble emerges from the chopper, a sack over his head. Nate expresses his dismay further by informing Dominika that the Russians will never allow them to capture Marble alive. She claims that one day he will realize what she has done, but Nate insists that he will not since he is not in the habit of discarding people. Dominika begins to approach the Russians, while Marble approaches the Americans. All that remains is for Nate to confirm the identity of the mole. The bag is lifted, revealing that the man Dominika had identified as the mole is not Korchnoi, but her uncle, Ivan. In a series of flashbacks, we discover that Dominika has been working for a long time to accuse her uncle of stealing a glass from Nate's apartment and placing it in Ivan's, as well as setting a bank account in Ivan's name into which she obtained money from the CIA. There is a sense of resignation in Ivan's eyes, and as he passes Dominika he says, "You have murdered me." Her reply to him is, "Didn't I do well, uncle?" They go past each other, but Ivan is shot dead as he reaches the Americans. Dominika, who is in shock, is grabbed by the Russians and pushed into the chopper. She is later awarded an honorary medal by the Russians. While everyone applauds, Korchnoi gives her a nod. Dominika returns to care for her mother. She gets a phone call. There is no voice, only the sound of classical ballet music, which causes her to grin. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like it and subscribe to the channel to see more of similar movie descriptions.